08:24 a.m. Damascus, January 18, 1965. The air is cold, thin, carrying the scent of diesel, damp stone, and roasting coffee. Inside apartment 10 on Abu Rumaneh Street, a residence appointed with expensive European furniture and Syrian tapestries, the silence is methodically broken by a rhythmic, high-pitched chirp. Dit, dit, da, dit. Da, 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 dit. A single finger, steady and practiced, taps a small black telegraph key. The key is connected to a compact transmitter, its internal vacuum tubes glowing with faint orange heat, a fragile technology pushed to its absolute limits. The device is a marvel of Mossad miniaturization, codenamed Mercury, concealed inside a false back panel of a heavy mahogany writing desk. The man operating it is known in this city as Kamel Amin Thabet, a wealthy textile importer, a passionate Syrian patriot, a confidant to generals and government ministers. His real name is Eliyahu Ben Shaul Cohen. His code name is Agent 88. He is a Katsa, a field intelligence officer for the State of Israel. He is transmitting a detailed schematic of Syrian fortifications on a plateau of volcanic rock 60 kilometers to the southwest. The Golan Heights. The message is long, dangerously, suicidally long, far exceeding the 15-minute protocol. The intelligence is critical, gathered less than 48 hours prior during a private late-night meeting with the Syrian Army's Chief of Staff, Abdullah Ziad. He has been told by his Syrian contacts the Golan is an impenetrable fortress, a dagger pointed at the heart of the Galilee. His eyes and his eidetic memory have shown him otherwise. He transmits the data on the 3 primary lines of defense. The first, a network of concrete bunkers buried deep into the volcanic soil, their rebar specifications and concrete mixture ratios now known. He taps out the details. 20 centimeters steel rebar spaced at 15 centimeters intervals, a 3.2.1 concrete mix with basalt aggregate, vulnerable to spalling from direct hits by 105 mm high explosive squash head rounds. The second, a web of zigzagging trenches designed not just for defense, but to funnel attacking Israeli armor into pre-sighted artillery kill zones. He transmits the grid coordinates of these funnels. The third, a series of fortified command posts and reserve positions. But he has seen the flaws, the hubris of the engineers. He taps out the precise firing angles of the 122mm artillery pieces, revealing blind spots large enough for an infantry company to exploit. He details how the new Soviet T-54 tanks are not positioned for mobile defense, but are dug into static revetments, their turrets exposed and engines cold, making them stationary targets for the Israeli Air Force. He taps out the coordinates, the troop strengths, the weaknesses in their supply lines, the location of a hidden command and control communications nexus he identified just last week. Each dit and da is a piece of a puzzle that, when assembled by analysts in Tel Aviv, will form a precise, actionable blueprint for invasion. Outside, on the street below, a gray Gaz-69 van, its military markings painted over with a crude approximation of a municipal water department logo, turns the corner. It moves slowly, without headlights, its presence masked by the morning traffic. A complex RDF, radio direction finding, antenna array, a Soviet-made Krug system, rotates on its roof in a silent, methodical arc. Inside, Captain Arfan al-Razi, a Syrian technician trained for 6 months at a GRU facility outside Moscow, watches the green line on a cathode ray tube. The line jumps, vibrating with each pulse from apartment 10. He adjusts a dial, tuning the receiver to maximize the signal-to-noise ratio. The signal is astonishingly clear, a lone voice in an electronically silent city. Signal strength is +5 decibels over ambient. He murmurs into his headset. No reflection, pure source transmission. He makes a notation on a gridded map of the city. A second van, positioned 3 blocks to the east, reports its own bearing via a low-power, single-channel radio. Vector 0905. The lines intersect. A third van, completing the triangulation with a Doppler shift confirmation to eliminate false positives from signal bounce, confirms the location. Doppler confirmed. 0 movement. Source is static. Intersection point covers a single structure. The intersection point on the map is a small circle, no more than 20 meters in diameter. It covers a single 5-story apartment building. Colonel Ahmed Suidani, Chief of Intelligence for the Syrian 2nd Bureau, sits in a black Tatra 603 sedan a block away. He listens to the clipped, professional radio chatter. For 3 months, his teams have been hunting this ghost. A phantom transmission that appeared on the airwaves with unnerving regularity at 8 a.m., broadcasting on a frequency reserved for the Indian Embassy's diplomatic traffic. A clever choice, normally lost in the ether of official communications. But its very regularity was a pattern, and patterns were Suidani's specialty. For 2 weeks, they had imposed sporadic, citywide radio silences, shutting down all official transmitters for 5-minute intervals. The ghost signal continued, a lone voice in the electronic quiet. Today, the silence was total, ordered by Suidani himself under the guise of a technical drill for a non-existent air defense system. And the ghost was singing loud and clear. Confirm source location, Suidani says into his microphone, his voice flat. The reply is immediate. Source confirmed. Abu Rumane Street, Building 22, 5th floor. Signal is strong. Cohen continues his transmission. He feels the pressure to finish. The message is vital. He is a professional, but the strain of 4 years in deep cover is taking its toll. The routine has become a comfort, a small island of stability in a life of constant, exhausting deception. Same time, same frequency. It is a fatal comfort. He does not know that the new Kirug vans are a generation ahead of the old French equipment they replaced, capable of pinpointing a shortwave signal in under 4 minutes. He does not know they can differentiate a signal's reflection from its source, defeating the countermeasures he was taught. He does not know that his island of stability has become a cage. He finishes the last character. He switches off the transmitter. The orange glow from the vacuum tubes fades. The silence in the apartment returns. It is 8:31 a.m. On the street below, car doors open and close with soft metallic clicks. Men in dark coats emerge from the vehicles, their movements economical and precise. They do not run. They converge on the entrance to his building. Eli Cohen has just delivered the intelligence that will win a war. He will not live to see it. He has just made the single, simple mistake that will cost him his life. He grew comfortable. Phase 1. The Needle. The mission that ended in a silent Damascus apartment began not with a plan, but with a crisis. The year is 1960. The State of Israel is a precarious 12-year-old entity surrounded by hostile nations. To the south, Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser preaches a fervent pan-Arab unity, a unity forged in the explicit goal of Israel's destruction. To the east, Jordan. To the north, Lebanon and Syria. It is Syria that is the most immediate, opaque threat. Damascus is a black box. A series of violent coups has made the political landscape a hornet's nest of shifting allegiances and brutal purges. The new ruling faction, the Ba'ath Party, is militantly anti-Israel, ideologically committed to confrontation. They control the Golan Heights, a strategic plateau of volcanic rock that looms over the Israeli settlements in the Galilee. From these heights, Syrian artillery shells Israeli farms, tractors, and kibbutzim with impunity. A constant, low-grade war of attrition. More than the shelling, there is the existential issue of water. Israel is a nation engineered out of a desert. Its survival depends on the Jordan River. Syria, in concert with Lebanon and Jordan, has begun work on a massive headwater diversion plan. They are building canals and dams to cut off the Banias and Hasbani rivers, two of the Jordan's primary sources, to choke Israel into submission. For Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion and the Israeli General Staff, this is a clear casus belli, an act of war to be answered with force. But to strike, they need intelligence. They need to know the exact location of the construction sites, the anti-aircraft defenses, the engineering schematics. They need to know the true strength of the Syrian military. They need to know the political intentions of the Ba'athist regime. But their intelligence networks are blind. Previous attempts to insert agents into Arab countries have ended in disaster. In 1954, Operation Shoshana, an ill-conceived attempt to use Egyptian Jews to sabotage Egyptian and American targets, resulted in the capture of the entire spy ring in what became known as the Lavon Affair. It was a public humiliation and a strategic catastrophe. In Syria, agents were caught, turned into double agents, or simply disappeared into the regime's dungeons. Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, needs a new kind of weapon. Not a saboteur, not a low-level informant gathering street-level gossip. They need a man at the top. Someone who can walk the halls of power in Damascus, who can befriend generals and politicians, who can sit at the table where decisions of war and peace are made. They need an agent of penetration, a man in place. The search for this individual falls to a new leader within Mossad, Meir Amit. Amit is not a traditional spy master. He is a former general, a pragmatist, a man who thinks in terms of systems, data, and results. He took over Mossad in 1963 after his predecessor, the legendary but mercurial Isser Harel, resigned over deep disagreements with Ben-Gurion. Harel was a hunter of Nazis, a man driven by ideology and the ghosts of the past. Amit is driven by the immediate, existential threat. He sees intelligence not as a game of cloak and dagger, but as an academic discipline. His philosophy is simple. Israel is small. Its enemies are large. It cannot win a war of attrition. It must win with information. It needs to know the enemy's plans before the enemy finalizes them. He demands positive intelligence, not just reports of threats, but actionable information that allows Israel to shape the battlefield. To get this information from Syria, he needs the perfect candidate. The file that lands on his desk is that of Eliyahu Ben Shol Cohen. Born in Alexandria, Egypt, in 1924. Parents are devout, Aleppo-born Syrian Jews. He is a polyglot, fluent in Arabic with a perfect Egyptian dialect, fluent in French, and fluent in Hebrew. He is intelligent, possesses a near photographic memory, and has a quiet, unassuming charisma that puts people at ease. His history shows a deep, early commitment to Zionism. As a young man in Egypt, he was part of Jewish underground networks, helping Jews escape persecution and emigrate to Israel. He was involved in the periphery of the failed Operation Shoshana, but was never implicated, a testament to his discretion. He made Aliyah, immigrated to Israel, in 1957. His early career in Israel is unremarkable. He works as a translator for the Ministry of Defense and later as an accountant in Tel Aviv. He marries a beautiful Iraqi Jewish immigrant named Nadia Majald, and they start a family. He wants a quiet life. But Mossad has other plans. They approach him twice. He refuses twice. He has seen the risks up close in Egypt. He wants a family, a home, not a life in the shadows. But the need is too great. In 1960, he is approached a third time. This time, the recruiter, a senior case officer named Jacob Goldstein, is blunt. The country is in mortal danger. The Syrian threat is existential. Your unique background, your language skills, your memory, you were made for this. It is your duty. Cohen, a patriot to his core, agrees. Phase 2. The Foundation. His training begins immediately at a secret Mossad facility, Mador 4, disguised as a business school north of Tel Aviv. It is brutally intensive. He spends 6 months mastering the art of spycraft. He learns Morse code until he can transmit and receive at over 30 words per minute, the clicks and silences becoming a second language. He learns cryptography, mastering the complex one-time pad systems that are, if used correctly, mathematically unbreakable. He spends weeks practicing on a specific edition of a French poetry anthology, learning to find the key page, transpose the plain text, and then burn the used page to ash, leaving no trace. He learns how to construct and operate the mercury transmitter, to diagnose its faults, to build a makeshift antenna from household items like a lamp cord and a curtain rod. He is trained in surveillance and counter-surveillance, how to spot a tail in the reflection of a shop window, how to use dead drops concealed in hollowed-out bricks, how to use microdot photography and secret writing with lemon juice and heat. He is given a crash course in Islamic theology, Quranic studies, and the labyrinthine politics of the Syrian Ba'ath Party. He must not just speak like a Syrian. He must think like one. He must understand their culture, their jokes, their grievances, their ambitions. His case officer, Jacob Goldstein, watches his progress with a practiced eye. Jacob is a veteran of the Palmach, a man forged in the fires of the 1948 War of Independence. He is quiet, methodical, and carries the weight of the assets he has lost. He sees in Cohen a natural talent, but also a dangerous desire to please, to succeed. Jacob's own past sharpens his focus on Cohen's survival. He remembers Baghdad, 1951. His first field assignment. His asset, a Jewish merchant named Ezra, was feeding them manifests from the Iraqi army supply depot. Ezra got greedy, started taking risks, driven by ego as much as patriotism. Jacob had ordered him to stop, to go quiet for a month. The risk is too high. Your pattern is becoming predictable. Jacob had warned over a crackling shortwave link. Ezra disobeyed, went for one last piece of intelligence, the shipping schedule for new British-made tank parts. The Iraqi secret police, the Mukhabarat, were waiting. Jacob had to listen on a crackling radio as the safe house was stormed, the mission ending in a burst of automatic gunfire, and then absolute silence. He vowed never again to let an agent's ambition outrun their discipline. He drills Cohen mercilessly on escape and evasion, on recognizing the subtle signs of a compromised network, on the cold calculus of abandoning a mission to survive. The best intelligence in the world is useless if the agent who sends it is dead, Jacob tells him, his voice devoid of emotion. Your first and only priority is to stay alive. The most critical part of the training is the creation of his new identity. He will not be Eli Cohen. He will be Kamel Amin Thabet. The legend is meticulously crafted by an entire team. Kamel is a Syrian Muslim, born in Beirut to parents from Damascus. His family moved to Alexandria, then to Argentina, where they built a successful textile empire. His parents have passed away. Now, Kamel, a wealthy and successful businessman, is a passionate Syrian nationalist who yearns to return to his homeland, to contribute his wealth and his business acumen to the glorious new Syria under the Ba'ath Party. The legend is designed to be airtight. It explains his wealth, which he will use to open doors. It explains his long absence from Syria, which accounts for why no one knows him. It gives him a plausible reason to befriend high-ranking officials. He is a patriot seeking to invest in his country. To cement this identity, he cannot simply appear in Damascus. He must live the part. In February 1961, Mossad sends him to Buenos Aires, Argentina. The city is home to a large and influential community of Syrian expatriates. This is his operational training ground. For nearly a year, he becomes Kamel Amin Thabet. He establishes a lavish apartment in a prestigious neighborhood. He throws extravagant parties where the alcohol flows freely. He makes generous donations to Syrian charities and the Ba'ath Party's local chapter. His guests are diplomats from the Syrian embassy, visiting military attachés and influential businessmen. One of his most important new friends is a man named Amin al-Hafiz. Hafiz is the Syrian military attaché in Argentina. He is a prominent member of the Ba'ath Party, a man with a future. Cohen, as Thabet, cultivates a close friendship with him. They talk politics, nationalism, the future of Syria. Thabet expresses his fervent desire to return and serve the motherland. Hafiz is impressed. He tells Thabet that when he returns to Damascus, he will have powerful friends. By the end of 1961, the legend is set. Kamel Amin Thabet is a known entity, a respected member of the Syrian expatriate community, a man vouched for by Amin al-Hafiz himself. The foundation is laid. The chessboard is set. But the board is crowded with other players. The CIA is active in Damascus, clumsily trying to find moderates within the Ba'ath Party to counter Soviet influence. Their heavy-handed approach makes the Syrian security services, led by the shrewd Colonel Ahmed Su'idani, hyper-vigilant. Su'idani, a professional, Soviet-trained intelligence officer, is the antithesis of the flamboyant politicians. Cohen is charming. He is methodical, paranoid, and deeply suspicious of outsiders. He believes Syria is infested with spies from Israel, from America, from Nasser's Egypt, from rival Baathists in Iraq. His life's work is to hunt them down. He is upgrading his department, bringing in new technology and new techniques from the KGB, whose advisors have a permanent office down the hall from his. Su'idani is the invisible wall that Cohen must penetrate. Concurrently, Egyptian intelligence, the Mukhabarat al-A'ama, is running its own operations, trying to undermine the Baathists who broke from Nasser's United Arab Republic. Damascus is a city of whispers, where every waiter could be an informant and every phone line is assumed to be tapped. The genesis of Cohen's specific mission comes from a single, catastrophic intelligence failure. In early 1962, Israeli intelligence receives a report that Syria has acquired advanced Soviet surface-to-air missiles, the SA-2 guideline. If true, this would neutralize the Israeli Air Force's primary advantage. A mission is launched to confirm the report. A team of Sayeret Matkal commandos is sent across the border. The mission is a disaster. They are ambushed, and the survivors barely escape, leaving 2 dead and 1 captured. The failure highlights the critical need for human intelligence. Satellites can't see inside buildings. Signals intelligence can't read a politician's mind. They need a man on the ground. They need Kamal Amin Thabet. In December 1961, Cohen travels from Argentina to Zurich for final preparations. He is given his equipment. The Mercury transmitter is small enough to fit in his luggage. He is given his encryption materials, a specific edition of a French poetry anthology that will serve as his one-time pad key. He is given his final instructions. He will travel to Damascus via Beirut. He will establish his import-export business as a cover. He will use his connections from Argentina to integrate himself into the political elite. His primary objective: locate and detail the Syrian water diversion project. His secondary objective: provide a complete order of battle for the Syrian military, with a special focus on the Golan Heights. His tertiary objective: report on the internal politics of the Ba'ath Party. The risks are absolute. If caught, he will be disavowed. There will be no rescue. He is completely on his own. In January 1962, Kamal Amin Thabet presents his pristine new Syrian passport at the border crossing from Lebanon. The border guard examines it. He sees the entry stamps from Argentina, from Switzerland. He sees the personal letter of introduction from military attaché Amin al-Hafiz. He smiles. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome home, he says. Eli Cohen, Agent 88, has entered the black box. Phase 3, the core. The plan in motion was a masterclass in patience and social engineering. Kamal Amin Thabet did not arrive in Damascus and immediately seek out generals. He began as a businessman. He rented a luxurious apartment in the affluent Abu Rumaneh district, a neighborhood favored by diplomats, military officers, and the political elite. The location was chosen with care by Mossad analysts. It offered a clear line of sight for his transmissions and was just blocks from the Syrian army headquarters and several foreign embassies. His first move was to establish his cover business, Transocean SA. It was a legitimate, functioning import-export company. He imported European furniture, textiles, and medical equipment. He exported Syrian crafts. The business was real. It generated profit, and it provided a perfect justification for his frequent trips to Europe. Trips that were actually debriefing sessions with Jacob in cities like Zurich and Brussels. With his business established, he began the second phase: social infiltration. He used the immense funds provided by Mossad to become one of the most popular hosts in Damascus. His apartment became a nexus for the city's elite. The parties were legendary. The finest food, imported French champagne, Cuban cigars, and beautiful women, often European socialites discreetly on the Mossad payroll. The guest list was a who's who of the Syrian power structure. Government ministers, Ba'ath Party officials, high-ranking military officers, wealthy industrialists. They came for the free liquor and the stimulating conversation. They stayed because Thabet was an incredible listener. He never pressed for information. He would listen to their complaints about their superiors, their boasts about new military hardware, their gossip about political infighting. And he remembered everything. His photographic memory allowed him to absorb vast amounts of information without ever taking a note. After a party, he would sit alone for hours, meticulously reconstructing conversations, piecing together fragments of intelligence. A drunk colonel complains about the poor quality of the concrete being used in the new bunkers on the Golan. A trade minister lets slip the name of a Swiss engineering firm involved in the water diversion project. A junior Air Force officer brags about his unit receiving new Soviet-made MiG-21 fighters. Individually, these are small details. But when transmitted to Tel Aviv and collated with signals and satellite intelligence, they formed a comprehensive mosaic of the Syrian state. His most important tool in this phase was his friendship with Amin al-Hafiz, his contact from Buenos Aires. On March 8, 1963, a coup d'état rocked Syria. The Ba'ath Party seized total control, and the new leader of the country, the president of the National Council of the Revolutionary Command, was none other than Amin al-Hafiz. Suddenly, Kamel Amin Thabet was not just a wealthy businessman. He was a personal friend of the most powerful man in the country. His access became unprecedented. Hafiz trusted him implicitly. He saw Thabet as a fellow patriot, a sophisticated man of the world, untainted by the petty rivalries of Damascus politics. Thabet became a regular at the presidential palace. He was one of the few people who could see Hafiz without an appointment. This proximity to power gave him access to the most sensitive information. He learned about secret arms deals with the Soviets. He learned the names of Syrian intelligence officers operating abroad. He learned about the deep, factional splits within the Ba'ath Party, information Mossad would later use to sow discord. His greatest intelligence coup came from this access. On several occasions, Hafiz, in a gesture of friendship and trust, took Thabet on personal tours of the Golan Heights. Thabet, the civilian businessman, was given a guided tour of Syria's most heavily fortified military zone. He walked through the trenches. He stood inside the command bunkers. He saw the exact positioning of the artillery batteries. He even made a helpful suggestion. He told the Syrian officers that the exposed concrete bunkers were easy targets for Israeli aircraft and baked the soldiers inside under the Syrian sun. To provide camouflage and protect the soldiers, he suggested they plant eucalyptus trees around the fortifications. The Syrians thought it was a brilliant idea. They planted the trees. Now, from the air, the Israeli Air Force had perfect pre-registered targets for every major Syrian position on the Golan. All of this information had to be relayed back to Tel Aviv. This is where the technology became a central character in the drama. His primary tool was the Mercury shortwave radio transmitter. It was a marvel of 1960s technology, but it was not without its limitations. It was a burst transmitter, sending Morse code at very high speeds to minimize transmission time. But it was powered by fragile vacuum tubes that could burn out. It required a long wire antenna, which Cohen would string up in his apartment just before transmission and take down immediately after. The act of transmitting was the moment of greatest risk. A radio signal is a beacon. To mitigate this risk, Mossad established a strict communications protocol. First, the schedule. Cohen was to transmit daily at 8 a.m. for no more than 15 minutes. Second, the encryption. He used a one-time pad system based on the poetry book. For each message, he would use a new, randomly selected page as the key, and then destroy the page. Third, and most critically, the frequency. The protocol dictated that he should vary the frequency of his transmissions randomly to prevent enemy direction finders from locking onto a predictable pattern. The first major setback occurred with the 1963 coup. While it ultimately brought his friend Hafiz to power, the initial days were terrifying. The city was locked down. Tanks were on the streets. Phone lines were cut. For 48 hours, Cohen was completely isolated. He had to suspend all transmissions. He hid his equipment and waited, listening to the radio broadcasts, trying to piece together who was in charge. When Hafiz emerged as the leader, Cohen faced a new problem. The coup was followed by a brutal purge. Hundreds of officers and officials, many of them Cohen's contacts, were arrested or executed. His carefully built network was shattered overnight. He had to start again, cautiously re-establishing his connections within the new power structure. In mid-1964, a new urgent request came from Tel Aviv. They had satellite imagery of a new construction on the Golan, deep inside the primary defensive line, codenamed Kala'at. It appeared to be an underground command and control bunker, but they needed to know its purpose and layout. This led to Operation Lens. The request was for Cohen to plant a new piece of Mossad technology, a sub-miniature camera disguised as a rock, the stone might fool, triggered by seismic vibrations from nearby vehicles. The logistics were a nightmare. The rock was smuggled into Damascus in the false bottom of a crate of German medical supplies imported by Cohen's company. The customs inspection was a heart-stopping moment, but his reputation as a friend of the president ensured the crate was waved through with only a cursory glance. A week later, Cohen accompanied a Syrian general on another tour of the Golan. The general was boasting about the new, impenetrable command center. As they stood on an overlook near the construction site, Cohen feigned a moment of clumsiness, stumbling and dropping a small, ordinary-looking rock he had palmed from his pocket. It rolled down a small embankment, coming to rest with a perfect view of the bunker's entrance. The general laughed. Thabet, the city businessman, was clearly not used to the rough terrain. The mission was a success. For the next 2 weeks, the camera's 8mm film cassette recorded every vehicle, every officer, every delivery that entered or left Kala'at. The intelligence it provided was a gold mine, revealing it to be the central communications hub for the entire Golan front. Just as Tel Aviv was celebrating this success, a new crisis erupted. In the middle of a routine transmission, Cohen's Mercury transmitter went dead. A bright flash, a puff of smoke, and silence. One of the 3A4 vacuum tubes in the power amplification stage had blown. In Tel Aviv, the signal cut out abruptly. Jacob Goldstein felt a cold dread. A sudden stop could mean anything, but most likely, it meant compromise. For 6 agonizing hours, there was nothing. Then, a faint signal appeared on the prearranged emergency frequency. It was Cohen, using a tiny, battery-powered backup transmitter with a range of only a